I'm Dr. Don. I'm the author of the forthcoming book, The Trauma Treatment Companion, available in October. I talk with lots and lots of people who say they've been thinking about coming to therapy to get help with their anxiety and their trauma. And they've been thinking about it for months or, in lots of cases, years. But basically, they confess they were afraid to go to therapy and start the process because they are basically afraid of having to tell the story of what happened back there, whether it's one event or multiple events. They're afraid of telling that story back there because it will make it too real and it'll hurt too much. That's a very common concern, and it's a very legitimate concern, considering that sort of conventional trauma treatment therapy went in the direction of, hey, let's sit down and have a warm and comfortable office and a warm and comfortable conversation, and let's talk about that thing that happened. Person to remember the event or the events and talk about the event or the events. And the assumption was that talking about it is going to eventually make it feel better. And there's some truth in that. The truth is that that combination of remembering the difficult and painful event, or the difficult and painful sort of source of anxiety, in combination with a what we call a social emotional context, a warm social emotional context. So basically a warm and caring therapist that is, responsive and attentive and paying attention and caring. So that combination, there's some really good synergy that does have the effect of causing the memory in the person's mind to be incrementally changed to be a less painful memory. That's really true. The difficulty is that it takes lots of retelling, and that's a long and painful and kind of just an onerous experience to have to tell and retell the story for the mind to incrementally change the memory into a memory that feels different. As I say, that's sort of conventional trauma, and hence there's good reason why lots of people are sort of apprehensive about getting into that process because, well, they don't want to talk about it. So that's why it's really important to kind of hear the next part of this video, because the next part of this video might seem a little surprising, probably a little controversial, and hopefully encouraging. Because here's what we know about trauma and trauma recovery that, to my mind, really changes everything and makes trauma treatment much more doable and much more tolerable process. Here's the thing. Trauma treatment as we understand it now doesn't actually have to involve going back there and remembering and retelling the story in words to a therapist. So we don't have to go back there, bring the story back and tell it over and over and over again. And I'll explain why. I think credit goes to a therapist from the Netherlands called Bessel van der Kolk. My apologies if he isn't the original sort of person who kind of identified this, but he's certainly the major kind of spokesperson for this approach. Here's the idea. We have to sort of clean up our language when we're talking about trauma treatment. That painful and unpleasant event that happened back there in a person's history, let's call that the trauma event. And let's call the trauma the current response or reaction that the person has in their mind and body and in their nervous system to the memory of that event. So the trauma event is the thing that happened in the past, and the trauma that we need to recover from, the trauma that we need to treat, is actually the experience and the reaction that is happening today. So it's the images in the mind, it's the negative thoughts about the person that they're holding, it's the tsunami of emotions that get triggered inside, it's the body sensations that get triggered inside, it's the hypervigilance or the dissociation, it's all of those terrible things that make trauma so unpleasant. We have to understand those are happening today. And so what we're treating and what we're recovering from is this reaction that's happening today. We're not actually needing to go there back in history to treat what's happening today. We can actually just treat the thoughts, the emotions, the body sensations, the traumatized parts of the person. We just need to treat those. And we may sort of reference, I'm feeling this feeling because of that thing that happened back there, but like we don't have to go back and we don't have to tell the story and risk re-traumatizing ourselves telling the story to a therapist, or risk re-traumatizing or traumatizing the therapist, which is a risk too. So that's the nugget I want to share with you in this video, is there's trauma events that are the thing or the pattern that happened in the past, and there's trauma, which is a stored experience in the body and the mind of the person. And at the end of the day, what we want to do in trauma treatment is we want to treat the present response. And that may or may not involve telling the story about what happened. In my experience, when I share this perspective with people and a little bit of the neuroscience underneath this perspective, generally people go, "Oh my word, that is such good news. I was dreading coming here because I was afraid that you're going to tell me, okay, tell me what happened." Well, if this idea intrigues you and excites you and makes you want to know more, then I absolutely encourage you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. There's going to be lots more videos coming that are going to be helpful. If you are currently in therapy for trauma or high anxiety, or if you are contemplating therapy, then you'll want to subscribe to this channel. Lots of good stuff coming. You'll also want to pick up the book, The Trauma Treatment Companion, How to Get Your Life Back from Trauma. Find the link below, click the link below, get the book. It's coming out in English and in Spanish, either as an ebook or a paper book, and you'll want to get that. It's an easy read. I've written it with the intention of making it just a very, very readable, easy to read book in small doses, in small chunks, and there's also really cool stories in there too. So get the book, The Trauma Treatment Companion, and also get yourself the best day possible today. Hey, thanks for watching.